Ladies and buttfuckers, Andy here, author of The Best Tinder Guide on the internet and guy who likes to demonetize himself in the first 10 seconds of his videos. This is the Kill You're in a Loser show. Let's fucking go.
Also a guy that likes to wear precocious hats.
So I'm wearing multiple hats here because I really like hats. Hats look great. I think they're a great fashion accessory. And I thought, if you're going to wear one hat, why don't you go up and wear two? So I put two on. I thought that I looked a lot more handsome, a lot more sexy, a lot more feeling my masculine energy. And then I thought, fuck it, let's just do it. Today's the day. I looked myself in the mirror in the eyes and I gave myself a pep talk. I said, listen, son. And I said, yep, son, what do you got to say to me? And I said, wear 3 hats. Today's the day you wear 3 hats. So I'm wearing 3 hats. Please no comments judging my 3 hats. I'm a little insensitive or a little sensitive about it. And insensitive as well. Let's get to the topic at hand. So, joined by my co-host, my girlfriend, my waifu, the woman that I put my pee-pee inside, Imogen. Hello.
Hi.
So this comment was left on a recent video that I did. And we're going to sort of react to this because this is a topic or a question that comes up quite a lot of times. So he says, I came across you from the Playing with Fire BDSM stream. So I did a live stream with Playing with Fire. When I heard you speak, I knew you had some info I could benefit from. A bit off topic, but I have a magic wand. So he's talking about, I actually have it here right now. Isn't that funny?
You haven't cleaned up and there's I've got
a bunch of toys.
The desk is covered with lots of different toys.
Sex toys. So this is the magic wand vibrator that he's talking about. So I recommend the Doxy magic wand, but pretty much any magic wand, any big vibrator is decent. So he says, I have a magic wand. How can I get past objections of girls that I have used it on other girls? So you and I talked about this a little bit, and someone actually already replied to this comment and gave a pretty decent answer, and they said, just tell them that you've washed it, and if they're still concerned, just wash it in front of them. That's kind of the short and easy answer.
Yeah.
And if there's anything you want to add to that, or we can just wrap up the podcast right this second, I can take my 3 hats off because I don't really feel secure doing this. I'll be honest, guys. I wasn't ready for 3. You know what? Fuck it. I'm not doing it. I'll go with 1 hat, but I'm not ready for 3 hats today.
We had a conversation how nobody wears their hats to the side.
But answer the rest of the question, all right? Look at that, there we go. Like I'm in the fucking 90s. Yeah, boy. Let's play some pickup basketball. Let's fucking go, boys.
Pick up? What's pickup basketball?
I don't know. Where you pick up the basketball. I don't play basketball. Can you answer the question? Do you have anything else you'd like to add to that answer? Or
Obviously,
should we get into the deeper topics of what we wanted to talk about?
There's probably going to be some girls who ultimately, even if you washed it, and I think that they're a rare minority. For context, we obviously use all of our sex toys on all of the girls that we see. And yes, we're screening for girls who are sexual and girls who are obviously fine sleeping with me. So it would be really
they're
inappropriate.
Never going to say oh my God, have you used this sex toy on yourself?
Yeah, it would be insulting if they said in front of me, who's it, the sex toys have obviously been used on. But yes, there's probably a small handful of girls who are just I don't feel comfortable using sex toys that have been just on a psychological level that have been used by another woman. Something in my brain says that's icky. But I think for the most part that's not.
That's very rare.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
So before I met you, of all the women I slept with, maybe 1 or 2, I think maybe 2 ever asked me about it. And I think 1 ultimately wasn't comfortable using the toys. And I was like, hey, okay, no big deal. And that's kind of the answer here. This guy's saying how can I get, what was his exact phrasing? I think it was, how can I get past objections? The first thing I'd say is don't see it as an objection. You and I talked about this quite a bit because I thought this would make interesting podcast content.
You fiddle with
stuff.
Do
not fiddle with stuff on my podcast,
You fiddle with stuff all the time. You're the one that drops things off the desk.
I'm going to have to discipline you live on stream. So, yeah, I do fiddle with shit all the time. So the first thing that we said is, when I mentioned this topic, was the word objection. I object to the word objection. So I wouldn't use the word objection. A woman doesn't have an objection. This isn't a battle or something where you have to get past an objection. It's not a test that you're trying to pass. It's not something that you're trying to move through.
Yeah, as we've spoken about, for the most part, it's not going to be girls who are I don't want this. A lot of the time it comes from nerves or worries or
insecurity.
Yeah, just small concerns opposed to rejections of no, I'm not going to do that. It's oh, I'm a little bit concerned about hygiene, or maybe I just feel a bit insecure about the fact that, it would imply that you've been seeing other, there's lots of things involved in that. And I think the worst thing you can do in that situation is be combative and feel like you need to like break through something with the girl.
Yeah, this isn't something to get past. You're not trying to get past her objection. When you phrase it like that, you're making it sound like it's you versus her, like you're on different teams. One of my core philosophies, and you know, this guy's a new person who hasn't heard of me before, so sure, but I'll teach you now. One of my core philosophies is you're on the same team as women. It's not you versus me, like as in it's not you versus the woman. It's you and me on the same team. It's you and her on the same team. And if you can have that philosophy in dating, in sex, in relationships, in friendships, in business, in like coaching, I have a very like on the same team mindset with everyone who watches my content, hopefully everyone, and all of my coaching clients. And you know, if you can embrace this concept of like we're on the same team, there's nothing to get past. There's no objection to get past. Instead, see it as like we're on the same team. We both want the same thing. She obviously wants to have sex with me. She ultimately wants to feel good. She wants to enjoy herself. She wants to feel comfortable in her body. She wants to please you and make sure you feel good the same way that you want to make sure she feels good, right? You both want to have a good time together. That's you on the same team. You both have the same fucking goal. Yeah. But when you view it as like, oh, I've got to get past this objection, now you're acting like she's on an opposing team. You're acting like you have to get past something. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, I would hope that the intention when you're seeing a girl is that you want her to be having a good time and to have fun. Like I'd imagine that's why you're using toys, right? Is that so you can both you're literally trying to make her feel good
and enjoy yourself. And there's no point forcing somebody to use toys when they're not, or like trying to push them or trying to like trick them into wanting to use toys, because I think the whole point is that like it's, you want to feel comfortable, you want to enjoy yourself. And if a girl is going along with something and they're not comfortable about it because you've, you know, you just use some trick or tried to convince her into it, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of why you're doing it in the first place, right?
Yeah, and I think to be fair, the fact that like this question usually comes from almost every single guy that I talk to wants women to feel good. He wants that, but it's like stuck in an old paradigm, this old sort of like mindset of I have to get past her objections, I have to handle her resistance, I have to figure out how to make her comfortable, I have to figure out how to build rapport with her and all of this. And that comes from a very like innocent place, because that's what I used to think. So this guy, you know, he obviously doesn't know me or doesn't know my content. I came from that school of thing. For years, I had this mindset of like, I have to get women to do what I want. I have to get past their objection. I have to handle their shit tests. I have to, you know, figure out ways to make them want what I want. And it didn't come from like an evil place or something. And I don't think it does with this guy. I think this guy, like, that's kind of my point here. It's just that you're stuck in an old mindset of like, man, like, how do I get past the objection? And even I think when most people ask it, they would even say it as like, because I want to get to the point where she's happy. Yeah. I want her to enjoy it.
So we're having a good time, because I know that we can have a lot of fun doing this. Like, how can I kind of show them that this is actually a lot of fun and this isn't something that they need to be concerned about?
Yeah. And so even seeing, like, realizing that, you can literally say that to her. Say, like, hey, I want us to both have a good time together. I want us to both get to the point where we're both having fun together. That's what I want, and that is obviously what this guy wants if he has a fucking magic wand. He obviously wants women to feel good. So rather than seeing it as, like, how do I get past her objection, see it as, like, it's me and her on the same team. It's her and I on the same team. She wants to feel good. I want to feel good. How can we both make sure she feels good together? How can we, like, move past it? If you want to phrase it like this, how can we move past this objection together? Like, how can I literally help her feel comfortable? That's essentially what you're saying. And so then the answer is, like, you literally just say that to her. So, like, oh, like, I don't want to make you do anything you're not comfortable with. Like, would it make you feel better if we wash it together? Like, and obviously tell the truth. Say, like, yes, I have used this on other girls. I wash it. Do you want to wash it together? And someone already replied to that comment and said exactly that.
Yeah, I think you've told me that you did that with a girl once.
Yeah, so one of the girls that was on, you know, had a question, and it's not even an objection, and that's my point here. Like, when you see this stuff as an objection, you're automatically making it like a combat. Like, she's, you know, on the opposite team, or she's the enemy, and it's like, it's not even an objection, it's a question. It's a concern. She just wants to make sure that she's not going to do something that might harm her body or something. She literally just wants to make sure it's clean, in the same way that you guys might hope that a woman has washed her vagina in the last 6 months, right? Like, you know, hopefully more often than that, but, you know, maybe every 3 months is pretty solid. That's probably how much you wash. No, that was an insult, wasn't it? I didn't actually mean that was meant as a joke, but that just sounds like an insult.
Correct.
To be clear, you wash your vagina at least once every month, right? I will not break first. so, what point were we making?
I don't know. You got yourself distracted.
I got sidetracked. You wash your vagina as the correct
Yes,
amount.
at the end of the day, she's just trying to look after her own health.
And so, yeah, see it as that. It's a concern. It's an insecurity maybe. It's a doubt. It's just wanting to make sure that she's making a good decision that's healthy for her body. And you're probably not going to get a woman sick for not perfectly washing the vibrator. Like,
No.
It doesn't really work like that. But I understand the concern, and like I want to, because here's the thing, and this is where a on the same team mindset really helps. Part of a woman's sexuality, particularly their orgasming and particularly just enjoying sex and being able to let go, is exactly that, being able to let go. For a lot of guys, once we start, feeling good, or once we start jerking off, or once we start having sex, we kind of just like lose the rest of the world. We tunnel in on what we're doing. It's if anything, most guys have an issue with coming too quickly, right? We get very caught up in the pleasure. It's very easy for us to come. I know some people have performance anxiety. I've worked with a fuckload of clients, and so that's a separate issue. But the majority of men who don't have like severe erectile dysfunction can find it very easy to come during sex. Again, there are exceptions. I've worked with plenty of them, but ignoring the exceptions. Whereas for a lot of women, they cannot orgasm unless they're able to fully let go. And that can be a very big process. Sometimes it feels like almost random for a lot of women. They don't know. Like when I first met you, you couldn't orgasm. You'd never orgasmed with anyone else because you just hadn't learned how to like let go, how to not be in your own head, essentially. A lot of women have a lot of insecurities. They're worried about like, what if I make too much noise? What if I don't make enough noise? What if I look silly? What if I can't orgasm? What if he has expectations of like, a lot of women are very insecure about their own orgasms, or very like
in their own head about, I would say in their own head about like sex.
Yeah, and like, wanting to do a good job and look pretty and all of that.
Yeah, that vulnerability when you're being like intimate with somebody.
Yeah, and if you don't know that, fair enough. But like, if you ask a bunch of women, so guys, this is another thing that I recommend you all do. After you have had sex with a woman, so like you're laying in bed, like maybe immediately after you come, you're cuddling, you're kind of basking in that afterglow, and you're both kind of relaxed and a little bit more open and vulnerable than you normally would be. Ask her some questions about a lot of this stuff that I talk about. This is how I learned most of this stuff, obviously. But ask her questions like, do you find it difficult to let go during sex? Do you find that you're in your own head sometimes? Do you worry about like trying to please me or other men, or men in general? Do you feel worried about your body? Is there something you're insecure about? And they'll tell you the truth, and every single woman is going to say yes. Like, yes, there's a lot of shit that I struggle with.
We met one girl who said no. She said, I'm not insecure about anyone.
Was that the one who then went off studying Seeking Arrangements?
No, she was studying fashion. And we met her in Brisbane in the middle of a lockdown. And I found her on my Tinder, and she came straight over. She lived
Is
where
this one we
we
did
get
photo
Danny
shoots
boys.
with, and then she's like, hey, you can't use those photos. And I was like, why'd you fucking tell me after we did the photo shoot that I can't use the photos? That woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked her, but she was
like a cat. She was
a cat. She would just come and go. Yeah. She was just like,
aloof.
I'm not going to fucking text you guys for a long time. Like, hey, what have you guys been up to? Let's fuck. And then she just walked off like a cat and just never came back.
So it ended up just like, it wasn't a formal like fizzling out, but it was just like we didn't really
we were just like, I'm not going to keep chasing
as much. Yeah.
I don't chase cats.
But we asked her and she was like, no, I'm not insecure about anything. And we're like,
I don't believe that.
That was the only girl that I think
anyone who
has
tells you
ever
they're not
that.
insecure about anything, like,
I don't know.
I'd be very cautious about that one. Anyway, sure, yes. But other than that one person, every single person will tell us, every single woman will tell us what they're insecure about. And we're making a greater point here, which is, this ties into that. One, she's going to have insecurities and doubts and all that kind of stuff. And so, what point was I originally making? This is a very like random
Girls
podcast,
have insecurities.
Yeah, they have a lot of insecurities.
And that's her like orgasms and sexuality.
Yes, correct. So, in order for her to be able to actually let go and enjoy the toy, she has to not be in her own head. And if she didn't ask that question, if she didn't say like, hey, have you used this on other women? Like have you cleaned it? If she didn't ask that question, if she just kind of kept it inside and was passive, she might get to the point where you're using it on her, it feels really good, but she just can't fucking let go because she's in her own head worrying like, oh my God, like, am I, is this clean? Like, what if he's used this on other women? Like, and like, she can't actually let go and have a good time. And so if anything, you want her to have these objections. They're not objections again. They're just questions or concerns, or she's trying to be on your team, if anything. This is her reaching out and saying, hey, I want to have a good time with her. And this is where I push back against the word objection. Or I try and get you guys to use different language, because the language we use and the language we tell ourselves, the words we tell ourselves, words are like magic spells.
Words mean something.
Yes, words mean something. It's one of my best mates' favorite fucking sayings is like, words mean something. Words are important. Words are like magic spells. You cast a spell on yourself when you say a certain word. And what I mean by that is when you use a particular word, there's so many like connotations and beliefs and stuff that go along with that word that you just sort of believe and you internalize, and that changes how you act. That's a magic fucking spell. You're literally casting a magic spell on yourself when you use particular words. There's a reason why I push you guys to use such positive, non-negative language, why I say don't sit there and just believe every story that you tell. Don't believe your limiting beliefs.
Yep.
Like if you say, I'm too short, I can't get laid, you've cast a magic spell. You've literally put a fucking curse on yourself and said, oh, I'm too short, so therefore I can't get laid. And then you won't get laid because you just cast a fucking magic spell on yourself. So be very cautious of the spells that you cast on yourself. In other words, be cautious of the language that you use. And the reason why I don't use the word objection is because you're seeing it as like a combat. When if you look at the innocence, or innocence is a good word. If you look at the innocence of what's actually happening, she's basically saying, I want to have a good time with you, but I feel like I can't fully relax until I know the answer to this question. Mm-hmm. Isn't that on your fucking team? She literally wants to have a good fucking time with you, but you're sort of seeing it as like, oh my God, she's throwing up these objections. Why doesn't she want me to just have sex? Why can't she just get over this so that we can just have sex? And yeah, this guy's maybe not phrasing it like that, but that's kind of like the hidden intent when you use the word objection. That's the spell you're casting on yourself. You're seeing it as, why won't she just give me what I want? And it's like, bro, she wants to give you what you want. She wants it as well. You're the one that's saying, oh my God, why won't she give it to me? You're the one not giving it to her. If you just sort of answer the question and go like, yeah, I've used it on other women. Would it make you feel more comfortable if I wash it in front of you? I've washed it before, of course, but like, do you want to fucking wash it? Or do you want to wash it together? And then she'll go, yeah, that'd make me feel really good. Like, boom, done.
At the end of the day, yeah, it's coming from a good, I guess you call it innocent place.
She's coming from an innocent place. She's coming from her own. Yeah, she has her own questions, concerns, and all of that. She's not standing in your way trying to stop you from having a great sexual experience. And I think a lot of guys see it as that, right? They see this stuff as like getting in the way of what I want.
Yeah, because I think sometimes you can get so like tunnel visioned on like your goal and your mission and your objective, and you'd be like, no, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to have a great time, and we're going to have this amazing time, we're going to blow her mind. And then obviously like it makes sense, and I think, as you said, I don't think this guy's question came with any sort of ill intention.
No, his question is great. We're more talking about greater points. So nothing against this guy, by the way. This is a great question. I hope that comes across.
Yeah, no, I think it comes with the best intention, and it can be like, no, like we got to push through because we're gonna have a great time, and this is my plan.
Yeah, if I could just, if I could just get her to like get over the, like if I could just get her to stop worrying about this, we could have fun. It's like, yeah, that's a good intention. Like, again, this guy probably has really good fucking intentions, but you're just viewing it in a already combative way. You don't realize you're doing it, but you're by calling it an objection. What's the other thing that people say? Like resistance, like last minute resistance. Like, why is she resisting? And it's like, because she's nervous. What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, some people would probably go so far as to call it like a shit test.
Shit test, yeah. There's a reason why, and this guy left the comment on my video about shit tests. And and so for anyone who doesn't know what a shit test is, it's an invention, or it's a framing. It's a very negative framing of innocent questions. So it's basically when a woman will ask you something, and you will view it as like, oh, why is she fucking with me? Why is she asking me this stupid question? Like, she's testing me essentially. Like, and I either got to pass or fail this test.
Or a negative interpretation of playfulness, I think, is
Yeah.
the other thing
Yep,
that can
sometimes a
happen.
woman's just being cheeky and having a little bit of banter, and guys will go, oh, she's shit testing me. And it's like, no, she's just playing around. And so if you instead see the innocence, and to be clear, sometimes there are, I wouldn't call them shit tests, but sometimes women will directly insult you. It's very rare. It's just so rare. Women are so fucking nice, but every now and then, especially if you're in a bar or something and she's drunk and it's late at night, fine, a woman might directly insult you, and some guys will see that as like a shit test. Like if a woman says like, oh, I don't, it's not even an insult. She might even just tell you. She might say like, oh, I don't date bald guys. And then some guys will see that as a shit test, and they'll go, oh, I got to pass this. I got to say some perfect James Bond response to that. And it's like, no, bro, she just told you that she doesn't date bald guys. If you're a bald guy, have some self-respect and say, hey, I respect that, all the best, like, enjoy your life, like, that's cool.
And I think some people have this, like, weird thing where, like, you know how people act a little bit oddly when they like somebody? And sometimes I think there's this weird defense where it's like, you know the stereotype of, like, the boy in the playground's going to be mean to the girl that he actually likes?
Yeah.
I think there can be that as well.
As in girls do that?
Yeah, I think
sure.
there can be the reverse of that as well.
Yeah, that can happen from time to time. But the point is, if you just choose to see the good in people by default, choose to see the innocence in women by default, and to be clear, yes, there are some women that don't have good intentions for you, but I think a lot of girls do it too with the opposite gender. So I think a lot of people, they err on the side of like being hyper sensitive to anything that could be possibly like negative, or she's being crazy, or she's shit testing me, or she's a bitch, or she's insulting me, or something like that. And they don't see the innocence in the other gender. And to be clear, women do the same thing. Women are like women can be hypersensitive.
Yes, and like men are all out to like hurt me or
Women
get me, and
guys
they have
just
ill
want to get laid
intentions.
and all that kind of stuff. And when we're hypersensitive to that stuff, and we see the negative or the possible negative in every statement and everything someone does, like a guy goes like, hey, I'm having a great time, like, would you like to come back to my place and have a drink? You know, there'd be some women, not a lot of women, but some women who'd be like, oh, guys just want one thing and it's fucking disgusting. And it's like, maybe he's just having a great time with you and he wants to go back with you and express his sexuality with you, and you express yours with him, and build something together and move towards something nice together. And if you don't want that, fine, you don't have to have that. But it's not disgusting. It's not, oh, men just want one thing. So it works both ways. Both genders do it. But if you can see the innocence in, I mean, we're really talking about if you can see the innocence in people, but specifically if you can see it in the other gender in the dating arena.
Sure.
It makes this whole process so much fucking easier, because you don't see everything as a shit test that you have to pass, or you don't see everything as an objection that you have to get through. Instead, you're on her team and you say, oh, are you a little bit concerned about like cleanliness or something? Like, I get it. Like, you know, how do we, you basically say, there's this hurdle right here, or this problem, or this like challenge, or this concern that you have, whatever you want to call it. You know, there's this, even if you want to call it an objection, there's this objection that you have. How can we get through it together? Like how can we make you feel better? And if you're not better, we can come back and revisit it and talk about it again and do whatever we got to fucking do. You know, maybe we don't even use the vibrator. That might even be an answer. Like maybe she just doesn't feel good using the vibrator, and then the answer is like, hey, that's cool. Like, we don't have to use the vibrator. But when you phrase it as like, how do I get through this objection? You're no longer on the same team as that person. And a big part of the reason why we talk about being on the same team is so that she can trust you. Like, if you just see it as like, I need to get through this objection, she's not going to be able to fully fucking trust you. Because it's very obvious that you're just trying to push through.
Yeah, humans can tell when you're going into something with an agenda.
Yeah, agenda is a good word, yeah. Or when you're not fully listening or understanding their concerns, you're kind of just steamrolling over the top and going like, how do I just fucking get her to get over this? And she's like, okay, well, this is a guy who, because here's what's happened. Here's what will happen. And this guy doesn't know, but, you know, I have a fuck ton of sexual experience at this point. Like a stupid fucking amount of sexual experience. Let's just phrase it like that. You can go on my website, go on killyourinaloser.com. You can see all the fucking sex stories, the videos, the pictures, the everything we've done. And here's what will happen, or here's what happens. If you steamroll over her concerns, what she feels like is, okay, I might agree to this. I might do this sexual thing with him. Maybe. Sometimes they just literally close down and go like, well, he's not even fucking listening to me. Why would I open myself up and be vulnerable and be sexual? Like, no, like what the fuck? He's not even listening to me. He's literally just trying to get his way. It's almost like I'm not a person. I'm just a wet hole that he's just trying to fucking, or I'm like a Rubik's Cube that he's just trying to, solve. And he doesn't actually see that I'm a person. And a lot of pickup artists and like objection handling, can fall into that trap. It's why I don't really do objection handling much with my coaching. I have like, if you have these questions, here's some answers to them. But if someone comes on a call with me to possibly sign up for coaching and they have all these objections, I will answer their questions and try and help them. But like, if they really have objections, I'm just like, hey bro, it doesn't seem like you want coaching. That's cool, dude. Like, I'm not going to objection handling, because when you do objection handle, even if you get what you want in the moment, the other person can't trust you now. Or they can't fully trust you. They can 80% trust you, maybe 50%.
They'll subconsciously be putting up walls between.
They have to hesitate.
Yeah.
They have to resist. Last minute resistance only exists if you haven't had a foundation of honesty from the very start. It can only exist if you haven't been honest from the start. Honest and upfront and authentic. And I've done so many articles about how to be honest, so go search my website for those. It's okay if you're not 100% honest at the start. It can take some practice. It took me probably a couple of years of being able to build up the courage to be fully open and honest and transparent. It's not just an easy thing. I get that. For men and women, honesty in dating is very difficult, or it can be at the start.
Takes a lot of vulnerability.
Yeah, for sure. And it takes some practice, and it's a skill you have to learn, isn't it? I think that's the easiest way of phrasing it. It's a skill you got to learn.
Yep.
So I understand all of that, but if you practice your honesty and do the best job you can and be as honest and upfront as you can about your intentions and what you want, and if you do your best to treat her like she's on the same team as you, and if she has concerns or she's insecure, you meet those with some empathy or some understanding, or like, hey, I don't want you to feel this way. How can you can even just say, how can we get through this together? Like, how can I help you with that? You can even literally just say that. So she goes like, hey, I got this objection, or like, have you washed it? You can go, oh, like, I can see that you're worried about like hygiene or something. Like what do you need from me? Like, how can I help with this? Like what do you want? What would make you feel better? You can even phrase it like that. What would make you feel better here? Like, what do you need? And sometimes she might say like, I don't know, and you can go, okay, well let's figure some stuff out. What if I washed it? Would that make you feel better? And she might go like kind of, but it just like, I just still have a weird feeling. And you can even fucking in that moment go like, well, hey, we can talk about it. Or if you want, we can just do other stuff and not use the vibrator, and we can talk about it another time when you don't feel like on the spot. Like, go away, think about it, have a think. And what you'll find is if you give women that space to actually, I guess, express their concerns, half the time they'll go away and then they'll text you 2 days later and go like, you know what, actually, yeah, let's use the vibrator. Thank you for not pushing me. Yeah. I want to use it. Because
there's a lot more trust once you've done that. And even if she ultimately doesn't want, like, also, again, like, it's not a big deal. Like,
yeah, it's not even a fucking big deal. Like, just, okay, we won't use the vibrator. Cool. Like, that's the end of the fucking conversation. Okay, we just won't use the vibrator. That's a bit of a shame because I really wanted to use it. I love using the vibrator, but if you're not comfortable, that's cool. Or here's another fucking answer. Hey, if you don't want to use my vibrator, you bring a vibrator next time. Bring your vibrator every time you come see me. Boom, done. Problem solved.
Do that. Like,
if she doesn't have a vibrator, if she doesn't have one, tell her to fucking save up for one. I mean, hell, if you got money to spare, you can buy one. I wouldn't. I mean, you do whatever you want with your money. I personally wouldn't buy a vibrator for a woman just because she was insecure about using the one that I already had. I'd say like, hey, if you want to use one, you buy your own, but do whatever you want. If you want to buy one for her, that's an option. But yeah, when you meet these like concerns or questions or whatever she has, concerns, I guess we'd call them, rather than objections. But when you meet these concerns with like empathy or like, we're on the same team, how do we figure this out together, which is ultimately better for you, right? This isn't me saying, hey, put your needs or put your desires as the man aside and just do everything she wants and like fuck what you as the man want. It's like, no, if you want what you want, the best way to get that is with empathy and like, hey, what's your concern? Let's talk about this. Let's solve this problem together. You end up getting what you want half the time. And yeah, sure, sometimes she ultimately doesn't give you what you want. Cool. Hey, at least now you understand why. There's not just an objection. You actually understand her reasoning why, and then you can go, cool, I get that. I respect that. Cool. Like, we just won't do that thing. We'll do a million other things. So when you do that, as we've talked about with trust, you build up trust, which means, no, let's phrase it in the way of if you don't. So we'll do the opposite. If you don't meet her with understanding and, you know, you talk about it and, hey, what's up? If you see it as an objection and you just try and steamroll over it, like you try and come up with the perfect pickup line or the perfect solution, and you just say the thing that makes her quiet in the moment but doesn't actually solve her insecurity, right? So if you were to just say something like, oh, don't worry about it, yeah, it's clean, and like it doesn't really make her feel better because she's like, oh, but like, do I know it's clean? Like if you just kind of steamroll over the top of her or change the subject or say some pickup line that doesn't actually address it, what will happen is she might go along with sex, but she will be closed down. She'll fucking close up and clam up because she can't fully trust that if she has another concern, you'll actually listen. Or if you do something that she's really not okay with, she can't be sure that you'll stop. You have actually shown her that, like, I'm going to see this as like a combat sport. And anytime you have an objection or a question, I'm going to treat it like a shit test, and I'm going to play games with you, and I'm not going to be on the same team as you, and I'm going to be almost like a weird autistic robot who just has like a bunch of rehearsed pickup lines instead of actually listening to your concern and actually talking to you like a human being. Like, you wouldn't talk to your friends if they had a concern or something. You wouldn't talk to them with pickup lines. You'd be like, hey, bro, I'm listening. What's up, dude? Like, let's fucking talk, man. Let's talk man to man. You guys would not use pickup lines on each other.
Yeah, and I think the reason why is because you don't have, again, like an agenda. An agenda can be like a bit of a loaded term because it sounds like a bit malicious, but like you don't have any expectations for your friend. It's like, no, we're just here to chat.
Yeah.
And I think similarly, you should, at least I like going into the mindset of seeing girls in the same way. Like, we're just here to have a good time. Like, that's it. There's no other like mission or purpose other than just to, like, for us all to enjoy ourselves.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, ultimately, as you were saying, I think if a girl does have that sense of like, I can't trust you, that's going to be the thing that's or maybe one of the bigger reasons why she wouldn't want to see you anymore. Is like, for whatever reason, like, I just get this uncomfortable feeling when I spend time with this guy. So yeah, I'm probably not going to see him for any extended period of time.
Or you get, and I see a lot of guys get this, like, this comes up quite a lot, you know, where guys have used like pickup lines, or they use like objection handling, or they overcome last minute resistance and shit like that, instead of just actually fucking talking to the girl and saying like, yo, what's up? How do we solve this problem together? When they use all these techniques and these pickup lines and all of that kind of stuff, the sex is just like mediocre. Like, it's good for the guy, and I'm not here to judge anyone's sex life or say like, oh, your sex is boring. Like, the guy is happy enough with it, but you don't get to those deeper, kinkier, filthier, nastier, like crazy, wild sexual experiences if she can't trust you. Like, you're not going to tie up and seduce and use butt plugs and have threesomes and do crazy shit, like the really kinky, filthy stuff, and she tells you her nastiest, kinkiest, dirtiest fantasies that she's never told anyone else. How can she possibly open up to you about that stuff if she can't fully trust you? Mm-hmm. If she can't trust that you will listen to her objections or her doubts or her questions, if you're just going to steamroll over the top, or if you're going to see it as like a combat sport of like, how do I beat this? How do I beat this objection? You're basically not on the same team. And a lot of the deeper, kinkier sex that I talk about that you guys seem to like, you know, the threesomes, the foursomes, stuff like that, you don't get that stuff unless you have a foundation of like trust. Or you can get it sometimes, but you don't get it as often, and it's not as easy, and she will resist you, and it feels like a fucking battle to even get there if you haven't had a foundation of like, we're on the same team. Versus, you know, what I've done for the last like 5 or 6 years, and what I've done with you for the last like 4 years, you know, so sex by myself before you, and then sex with you and other women, you know, since I met you. What we do is we are ridiculously honest from the start. We have a foundation of like on the same team. If any woman ever has like an objection, which probably most of the women that we go on dates with have what you guys might see as an objection, but we just see it as like a question. Like, they will say like, oh, I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I'm comfortable doing that. Or I think I might want to go on a couple of dates first before we do that. Or I don't want to come back to your place today. I'm not ready. And like, rather than us seeing it as an objection, I just see that as like, oh, she's nervous, or she's not ready yet, or she has a concern, or she has a question that I haven't answered, or something like that. And we meet it with, you know, understanding, and like, and if you don't understand, you can meet it with questions. You can say, oh, hey, like, what's up? Like, let's talk. Like, like tell me what's going on. Like, It seems like you don't want to keep going, or it seems like you're resisting, or it seems like you don't want to keep doing this thing. It seems like you're not ready to fuck today, or like you phrase it in any different way.
Yeah.
But you basically say, hey, it seems like, you know, you're not super comfortable right now. Like, do you want to talk about it? Like, what's up? Like, I'm not going to push you. You know, I'm not going to pressure you, but like, what's up? Like, I want to talk because I don't really like the feeling of like trying to push someone. You can even say this to her. I don't like the feeling of trying to push someone and they're kind of resisting. It makes me, like, it just feels icky. So like what's up? Like, let's talk. Like, I'm an adult, I'll listen. You're an adult, you'll talk. Like, you know, let's have a chat. So when you do that, the sex is a million times better. The sex is a million times kinkier. They can open up, they can trust you, they can stick around for longer, all of that kind of stuff. But it's just easier as well. It's like drama free.
Yeah. Again, like always, like it keeps coming back to you don't have to fight the other person.
Yeah.
It's just chill. Like you can let your guard down and relax. Like, because
And have a
ultimately,
good time
like,
together.
yeah, without any intention of like what you want the girl to do, it's like, no,
Yeah.
like whatever. Like, I don't, you care less, and then you can have a better time because you don't have to be going in with like being outcome dependent.
Yeah, I think maybe we can phrase it like that. We didn't even talk about this before. You kind of hinted at it, and then we went off on a different tangent. When you have an expectation of how the night's going to go, and it's almost like an agenda, but I think expectation is a better way of phrasing it. It's a kinder way of phrasing it. When you have an expectation, like, you know, I really want to get laid, like I'm trying to get laid, and you have all that pressure, and I get it, trust me, like I have been there for years. I was there. I understand the excitement, the pressure, the low self-esteem of maybe you haven't had a lot of sex. I understand all of that. That was me. That's most of my coaching clients. I get it. But what you want to do as best you can is remind yourself of a couple of things. One, I will eventually get laid. If it's not tonight, it might be another night. If it's not with this girl, it'll be with another girl. I will eventually have sex. I'm not going to be a fucking incel for the rest of my life. I will eventually have sexual coital relationships with a woman. Or a man if you're into that shit, or a fucking non-binary, or whatever else the kids are having sexual coital relationships with these days, right? You stick your dick in something, yeah? That will eventually happen. So remind yourself of that. Remind yourself it doesn't have to be tonight. And remind yourself that it is much more fun. It will work out for you better in the long run. She will trust you more, and the sex will be kinkier, and she will stick around for longer, and you will have a deeper relationship, even if it's just a casual, super casual friends with benefits. The sex will be better. Everything will be better if you don't push her, or if you don't come from this place of like neediness of like, I need this tonight. And I'm not saying not to take the lead. I'm not saying not to pull the trigger. I am a big advocate of, you know, being assertive. I'm a big advocate of like you taking the lead as the man, inviting her back, having sex on the first date if you want to do that. Like, I'm a big advocate of like making the moves and pushing forwards and, you know, saying, hey, come back to mine. Do you want to have sex? Like, I'm a big advocate of all of that, especially if you do it in an honest way. But it's about not having expectations on what her answer will be. And if she says like, hey, I'm not ready tonight, instead of going like, fuck, I was so close. I see so many guys going like, oh my God, I was so close. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, how do I do better next time? And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? She just didn't want to have sex with you on the first date. Send her a text afterwards and say, hey, that was like fun. What are you up to on Friday night? And try and have sex with her then. Invite her back on that night. If she's still not comfortable, try a third time. Yo, do you want to come back to my place? Like, you get more retries. This isn't like you didn't fail. And I see so many guys like getting really upset, and it's because I get it. They had expectations. They feel like they have a lot on the line here. They feel like they're doing something that's very vulnerable and very difficult. I understand. I was there for a long time. But you didn't miss out. You just have to wait a week. Sometimes even less than that. It's just like, I didn't get laid tonight. It'll probably happen in a week. And if it doesn't happen with this woman, like if she ultimately doesn't want to sleep with me, cool, I'll just keep grinding. I'll keep talking to women. I'll keep improving myself. I'll keep going out there and taking better Tinder pictures and all of that. So I see a lot of guys that have a lot of expectations. And it's almost like you said it best, abundance mentality. You want to have that abundance mentality and go like, even if I don't have an abundance of women in my life right now, that's fine. I have an abundance of options. I can go out there and hit on literally any woman outside. That's infinite women. I can keep improving myself so I have more of a dating pool. I can keep taking better Tinder pictures and look better and all of that stuff and work on my confidence and all of that and improve myself and lose some weight, go to the gym, all of that shit. and so I can keep building up my options. You have an abundance of self-improvement.
Yep.
You have an abundance of options with women, so it's about not getting so caught up in like, I must sleep with this woman right now, and instead just go like, hey, this is a person. Maybe she's not comfortable right now. Maybe she's got a concern. Yeah. Anything else you would like to add there?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I guess circling back to the actual question, if a girl doesn't want to use a toy because she has concerns about it being used on other girls, like I think like you said, you can ask if it's about it being clean, offer to wash it again, and ultimately if she doesn't want to use the toy, that's fine.
Yeah, I think probably the last thing you said is probably the biggest answer here. It's like nothing bad happens if she doesn't want to use the toy. You just do everything else. Like nothing bad happens. And even if a woman said like, I don't want to sleep with you tonight, or I don't want to sleep with you at all, nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
Like nothing bad happens. You're in exactly the same situation you were in a week ago. Nothing changed. You're exactly the same person. The only frustration or the only disappointment or the only maybe bitterness or anger or anything, any negative feeling that you feel is from stories that you're telling yourself of like, oh fuck, tonight could have been the night. You're using that to make yourself feel shit. Or like, god damn it, like women are never going to say yes to me. Like I'm never going to beat this. I'm never going to get laid. That's you making yourself unhappy. But if you actually take a step back and be a bit more logical and rational, you realize like nothing actually happened.
Yeah.
She just didn't want to use a magic wand. It's not like she murdered your entire family. And I'm saying that not to be unempathetic or something. Again, I know a lot of you have, and I did in the early days, expectations, and you really want it to work, and you just want to get to a point where women will say yes to you and you don't have to keep sort of going through all these struggles and all of that. But, you know, that day will come if you just keep working on yourself, if you keep working on this stuff, if you keep building your confidence and all of that kind of stuff. But it's about not getting butthurt with every little... And this guy isn't butthurt, like, let's be clear.
No, not at all.
But it's about not getting butthurt with every little tiny thing that a woman says that maybe didn't go exactly the way that you wanted it to. Basically, reality is going to go the way that reality wants to go. Women are going to do what women want to do. Each individual woman is going to have her own preferences and likes and dislikes. And they're not all going to just say yes to every question you ask. And I think sometimes I won't even say as guys, because women do this too. I think as people... in general, but especially in the dating market, people will sort of have an expectation of answers that they want. You usually ask a question with an agenda. Almost every question is asked with an agenda until you get to a point where you learn to let go and just live reality, like be in the moment and let things happen as they happen. And when you let people give the answers that they want, that can take a while to get to. I understand that. But almost every question that most people ask comes with an agenda or an answer they want the other person to say. And we can get very almost authoritarian. We don't mean to do it, but we almost get authoritarian and we get mad that the person didn't say the answer that we wanted them to say. And it's like, they can say whatever answer they want to say.
Yeah.
Or we get mad if they have an objection or something. And it's like, bro, other people are going to do what they want to do. Like, you can't control reality. You certainly can't control women. You can't control other people. And
yeah, and I think there's a lot of peace when you embrace that, of like other people are going to do whatever they want to do, and fully making peace with the fact that you can't control the people. There's just a lot of calm that comes with that.
It's a more stoic philosophy as well. It's a much more masculine, because then you can start embracing your own wants and desires and the action you take, and you can focus more on yourself instead of worrying about what other people do. Instead of going like, fuck, like why do women keep saying no? Or how come like I've had multiple women now ask about how clean the toy is? It's like, who gives a shit? They're going to do what they're going to do, but I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to be my own strong internal rock, and other people are going to do what they're going to do and ask the questions they're going to ask. That's cool. Like the rest of the world, the external world is going to do what it wants to do. I'm going to just be over here chilling, doing my thing. That's a much more calm, stoic, masculine. It's not even masculine. It is masculine, but like women benefit from that shit too. So yeah, I feel like that's enough. I hope that answers the question. Yeah, that'll do. I have links to coaching in the description below. Oh, no, that's what I was going to say. So yeah, I've done a video which should be out by the time you watch this. I've posted on the forums and stuff like that. I am offering $150 coaching calls for 30 minutes, so 30-minute coaching calls. Obviously, a massive massive fucking discount compared to my usual coaching packages, which start at $5,000. So for those of you who want to just sort of jump on, ask me a question, maybe you got a question like this, very simple question, maybe you want to pick my brains, maybe you want a plan for the future, maybe you want me to look at your dating profile, maybe you're in a relationship and you've had some questions you're not sure about, you're having some struggles, maybe you want to start a business and you want to run the business plan by me. That's actually something that I did with one of my coaching clients recently. I just went through and gave him a bunch of tips. Maybe just want to fucking chat to me. That's something I'm offering now. So I will leave a link in the description below, but you can just go to my website and click on the contact me button and just shoot me an email and say, hey, I want that $150 coaching. Like I said, 30 minutes, $150. Pick my brain about anything you want. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
What do these beautiful people need to do?
Go and crush your goals.
Go crush your goddamn goals, or I'll be very unhappy with you.